calls, not all calls have a little different sound to them, but you can get one, I think, that's pretty close if you pay attention, and then don't over grunt, know when to grunt.
Yeah.
But Jordan Susowitz was just on with Andy on the Deer Camp podcast. Jordan talked about how he likes to grunt to deer. You know, he does it often with good success. And him and I have hunted together for going on a decade. And we've both had some good scenarios where we've grunted deer, you know, right into us.
Yeah, now I will say this. I did decently well at what I'll call like the Jared Scheffler dance, where if I hunted low, I got on the ground and like would kick leaves, break some stuff, break leaves in like a deer cadence. And I had a buck come over and check that out. And then, so get this, I'm up in the tree, you know, 10, 12 foot, and he's like 40, and he's looking down my way to see if he can see the action of what, you know, I tried to paint the picture with. And as a last-ditch effort, he's rounding away from me. He can no longer see me. I pull a water bottle out of my backpack and chuck it down the hill, hoping that it would, like, tumble and roll. And I kind of had to make the choice of I might need this water later today, so I'm going to angle it at that log over there so I can go get it here in an hour or two. But that trick didn't work.
Great long story, but quite well told.
Yeah. So, but no, I did, you know, he came over initially from breaking branches and leaves, but then, yeah, no visual. He buggered out. But yeah, replace the grunt tube was definitely on the list this year.
Yeah, Jordan brought up a good point. People should listen to it. Go listen to it. Because that's what these deer do. They'll come into 60 to 40 yards and they'll just hang up and stop, and they'll stand there for forever, you know, like, 28 minutes have gone by and you're like, did I just imagine what happened? You know, that I heard, like, I've had this scenario happen where it's like crunchy and cold and calm out. You grunt, you hear a deer start coming at you. And in some instances you hear a grunt, you know, and you like very clearly hear a deer coming, and then it just stops. And minutes go by and you're like, did it go a different direction? I never heard it. I would have thought I would have heard it go off. So you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait. And, you know, a half hour goes by and you're like, I don't know. I'm going to give it another little poke, you know. This happened to me this past year. I pull the tube out and I do a grunt, and that deer was standing 15, 20 yards. You know, he had just been standing in there in these thick pines. But, you know, maybe that is exaggeration. Maybe he was 25 or 30 yards. But it was enough to where when I blew that call one time of him being within that distance, he snapped his head up, you know, he just instantly blew and ran. And I was just like, you son of a bitch, man. And that's what they do. And that's what we talked about, that, the stopping and the going, you know, them hanging up. But they, especially if you're calling to them, you know, it might give them a reason to. I've visually watched deer through some thick stuff where I was elevated and I'm grunting at them from a distance, maybe 100 yards loud, but they hear me finally, and they'll come to that 40 and 60 and they'll just stay there and kind of hang out, you know, and then they might even start raking a tree or whatever, going back a little bit, and you hit it again and they'll just stand there, but they're waiting to see a deer or see a deer move around to associate to them that this is 100% legit. But they in a lot of circumstances, you know, they've been grunted to before, or I don't know how they're programmed to do that, but it's a happening thing, and Jordan talked about it, and it's worth it if we're talking about grunt tubes, because you got to know how to use them and when to use them, man. They can make or break you.
Yeah.
They're like trick plays in the NFL, Byron.
That's a great comparison right there.
Yeah.
Make or break, boom or bust.
Do you drink beers in a garage? That's exactly why the garage bar was invented. Unfolds in seconds, ready to go. Pull your wood out and enjoy a cold one.